The physical is low and slow. The metaphysical is high and fast. So whatever you want to create is instantaneously created. There's no hesitation to it in the metaphysical, in your sacred space, what you would call your imagination. Why? Because there's no matrix in there. There's no resistance. There's no impediments. There's nothing in there that's trying to bring any type of contrary or counter opposing force. There's been nothing in there that's introduced that blocks it or stops it or slows it down. This is how God can manifest like that. But then God's on another level of manifestation. I mean, it's indescribable. But I can tell you that with the manifestation process, the instantaneous portion of it is not a process. That's the metaphysical portion because it's instant. There's no process. It's just your desire is there already because there's no thought, there's no mind, there's nothing like that. There's no action needed, no action taken. There's no type of evolving or growing or seeds planted. It just is. I can't explain it. It's very hard to explain in earth words. But where the process comes from is that how do you take something in your metaphysical sacred space, also known as your imagination, and bring it into the physical? That is where the process occurs. Because the physical is low and slow, you can, like, if you could, if you were allowed to, I should say, because you actually could, but you're not allowed to. If you were permitted by the universe, let's say, to instantaneously manifest anything, this world would be chaos. You have to understand, there has to be checks and balances in place to curtail these types of things. Just like you think you have free will, you don't have what you think you have. Just like when your government lies to you and says you have freedoms and rights and you can vote and your vote means something. I'm not going down that road. But anyway, it's the same thing with the universe. You're only allowed to do certain things here. Because could you imagine if you could actually, at free will, manifest anything you wanted? I mean, anything, instantaneously? Okay, let's say I'm walking down the streets of Manhattan. I want to manifest a full-blown aircraft carrier right now. Boom! Or a 777 airliner. Boom! You think about how that would go off. This is the reason why the universe doesn't allow this stuff. Because then it would be just chaos. People will be freaking manifesting fleets of army tanks and killing people with it. And I'll manifest a whole room full of guns. And, I'll manifest this. There has to, that's the reason why. I mean, it's common sense. And it's also the reason why there's an impediment here. Why your manifestations are instant in your imagination, but you don't see them that rapidly here. Some things that come quickly, like a penny on the ground, or a feather, things of this nature. These are subtle manifestations. But when you're talking about something big, that requires action. And it also requires a reconverting process, that these high vibrational energies have to be reconverted to a lower, slower density of terrestrial matter so the five physical senses can perceive them. Neville Goddard and the law of attraction and all these people, just ignore all that stuff, man. It's all coming from the same cult. I've said it before. It's all nonsense. They don't tell you who and what you are because they don't want you to realize it. They want you to do two things. They want you to be obedient, and they want you to listen to them as the authority figures. And this is no difference. Neville Goddard, the law of attraction, Abraham, all of them. Tony Robbins, all of them. All the same. They're all the same. All of these people are the same. They're in the same clique. They're all part of this. They take their orders from higher ups. They're told what to do. And then they pontificate and regurgitate this stuff to you. The bottom line in all of their stuff is always money. It isn't because they care about you. Trust me, they don't. But the reason why the universe cannot allow direct manifestations is because, like I said, okay, I want to manifest the world splitting in half. I want to manifest everybody on the earth dead. I want to manifest, removing my whole family or burning down the whole neighborhood. You see what I'm saying? That would get out of hand real quick. Like in other words, is let's say somebody cut you off in traffic. I want that person dead now, and they would just burst into flames and die. You would be no limit to it. That's the reason why things are the way they are here. There has to be checks and balances in place. There has to be a valve, because people are nuts. Could you imagine a lunatic just manifesting what they want? Could you imagine that? wiping out entire cities, destroying buildings. Everything's on fire, exploding, gas explosions. Women and children are running for their lives. It would be anarchy and chaos on a daily. This is the reason why you don't get to manifest what you want, when you want, how you want that quickly. This stuff has to go through a filtration process to see if the universe is like, okay, that's doable, that's not, because the higher ups, so to speak, have to approve these things. You don't just get what you want in this world. Could you imagine? This is the reason why we have law enforcement, to prevent people from being human. Because if we didn't have law enforcement, you couldn't go outside your house without a loaded AK-47 and freaking Kevlar and two 30-round banana clips duct taped to each other in reverse, with full military setup on the gun, just to get your mail. There has to be checks and balances. Just like law enforcement keeps the human beings in check, meaning tame, because if there was no law enforcement, there would be freaking blood running through the streets and daily rapes and murders and robberies off the freaking wall. That's human beings for you. You don't think that God don't know this? Of course God knows this. God created Source. Source created the universe. Universe created human beings. And human beings, they come from Source, and Source knows full well the nature of human beings and what they do and who they really are underneath the little flesh and bone facade. So to end the video, the manifestation of your instant desires there's not a process, because there's not 1, 2, 3, 4, or any time has to be taken. It's instant because it's metaphysical, and you can't hurt anybody with that. See, but when you live in your higher self, you thrive in your higher self. That's the reality of your higher self. But your lower self doesn't recognize it because you can't see it. So those things have to be dialed down. That's why things take time. So in that sense, it is a process, whether you realize it or not, because it requires physical action in a physical world to see physical results. You cannot manifest something from nothing. If you think you can, hold your palm out like this, right? You see my hand? Hold your palm out like that. And in the middle of your palm, manifest from absolute nothing any type of particular seed you desire. Lemon, apple, orange, anything. Manifest a seed from nothing in the middle of your palm. And tell me again how you have manifestation powers. You could spend all day doing it. I guarantee you ain't going to see a seed in your hand. I don't care who you are. It's not going to happen. Why? Because the universe won't let you do it. It's a safety valve. So respect the fact that you don't get 100% free will, because if you did, you'd live here forever. And you don't get 100% manifestation powers, because if you did, you'd be able to manifest anything at will, instantly. And how would we live? You'd wind up manifesting, like 9 billion people in the world. And don't forget something. This is something that's lost on human beings. Before I end the video, please stop believing that human beings are the only ones bequeathed with this power. Now, the word bequeath means that you're gifted or given something. As a gift, a treasure, a blessing by God. Because every creature has the power of telekinesis, psychic abilities, manifesting, alchemy, not just human beings. Birds, squirrels, trees, the wind, rocks, sand, all have the power of manifesting and alchemy and everything. Blue whales, ants, microscopic organisms, all have the power of manifestation right there. And even more so than you do, because they don't have a matrix messing up your head. Now, when it comes to the lower self, that's your alternate side. That's the darker, lower, slower side to your higher self. But you need to have that while you're here, because when you pass, hopefully you learn your lessons. You incorporate all the lessons from your lower self into your higher self, and you move from this earth and go to the next, and your journey on, and your eternal journey continues, forever. Hopefully you don't have to come back here. But for the time that you're here, you have to recognize and respect that you have a lower, slower self that is you're in to experiencing all of this stuff. That's why you're here. You don't want to sit in a cave and just go, I can't wait till I die. I want to get out of here. I don't know why I'm here. I made a mistake. I should have never come here. You want to experience this place. So your lower, slower yourself is your brain, your physical mind, and it is your entrance into this matrix. And the higher self, like I said before, is that portion of your soul that consciously chose to not incarnate in human form. Thusly, it would not be subjected to what you're going to have to go through here. Pain, misery, suffering, heartbreak, being cheated on, lied to, robbed, broken into, violated. The whole gamut is the reason why you're here. So you don't have what you believe that you have, because there's no way God's going to give you that power in this, terrestrial density, in this astral plane. It's not going to happen. Because then, could you imagine a newborn baby, what they would be thinking? They would instantly be manifesting everything. The world would be so cluttered and overcrowded, you wouldn't even be able to walk. People would just be manifesting all kinds of Lamborghinis and Ferraris and brand new clothes and a fleet of houses and, all that stuff. And that would take up, property space. Land would be filled quickly. I want a fleet of 777s, and I want 7,000 horses, and I want 900 Lamborghinis and 700 Ferraris, and I want this, and I want that, and I want this. You know how people are. It never ends. I mean, look at Jay Leno. He's got like 60 million cars, man, and he just keeps buying more. Do you think with half of that amount he's got, he can feed all of California? People like that don't care. They just care about themselves, They get 700, probably billions of dollars worth of cars, and you could easily sell off a lot and feed homeless people. You know how many homeless people are dying and starving to death in California? I mean, there's tens, probably hundreds of thousands of them. Look at Las Vegas. The last time I was there 5 years ago, I was just blown away how many homeless people there are there. Absolutely. But anyway, just to end the video, just let you know that the manifestation process is a process in the physical. The lower, slower. The higher, your higher self, no, there's no process. You manifest instantly. It's just there's no thought there. There's no mind. It's just a cosmic essence, because everything is one. The universe doesn't speak with a language like, "Hey, how are you? I'm fine. Where are you?" It doesn't work like that. It's not telepathic. It's not anything. It's no mind involved. I can't explain it with earth words. But the communication is, because everything is one. There's actually no need for communication. They already know, long before anything was ever even said or spoken in a figurative sense. It's kind of hard to explain. When you pass, then you'll get all of it. Until that time, there's no way I can tell you on this phone. It's just not going to happen. But just to give you an idea why some things take time is because if you're asking for something ginormous, it takes time for that energy in a metaphysical to dial itself down to the lower, slower terrestrial density of this extremely low energies, frequencies, and vibrations of the physical. That's running like a snail. But the snail is actually 70 million tons and it's going super slow. Like when they... I don't know if you've ever seen those hydraulic machines that move those little wheels, and they're moving like gigantic aircraft equipment in a little country road. You see like this airplane wing, or it's like freaking huge. It's got to go like this. You're bringing something huge, and very heavy, and it's got to be dialed down. Not that your metaphysical manifestations are heavy. I'm just making an example that you want something huge to be dialed down into this lower, slower, because that's high vibrational, super fast, imperceivable by your five senses. So that energy has to be reconverted and stepped down. So your five senses can go, "Hey, there it is." Because right now your angels are with you. You just can't perceive them, because they don't want you to. But when they want you to, they'll allow you to sense them. That's how it really works. So nonetheless, let me end the video by saying you have superpowers, but while you're in the physical, there's rules to this stuff. Once you learn what those rules mean to you, because they're not universal, what they mean to me, my journey doesn't call for superimposing these things over yours. So I don't ever give advice like you should do this, don't do that. But I'm saying once you know what those rules mean to you, like your limits to these things, even though you're limitless in this area, there's certain things you can do, certain things you can't. Like right now, if you believe that you're limitless in the physical, then manifest an elephant in your living room. A living, breathing elephant in your living room right now. Go. Can't do it. Nobody can do it. Why? Because God says there's limits to this stuff. You can't just go free will, manifest, because then this world would be freaking chaos. Imagine somebody wants, you know, 10,000 60 millimeter machine guns, you know, just belt fed, just hosing down everything in sight. Then this one wants, you know, F-16 fighters to strafe the neighborhood because they just don't like the look their neighbor gave them last week. It would never end. It would be a world of chaos and lunacy because people are crazy. They're chaotic and they're lunatics. You know, whatever's going on inside the noodle, that's what they would manifest. Oh, we'd all be dead. You know that to be the truth. You got to figure somewhere along the lines. Could you imagine how many people are serial killers, sociopaths, and psychopaths, but they hide it? Could you imagine if they had the manifestation powers of instantaneous manifestation, what they would do? This is what the checkpoint is for the universe. They know full well the inherent dysfunction of humanity. That's why they don't allow you to have full-blown manifestations in the physical. The metaphysical, yeah, because that's a different realm, a different galaxy, a different dimension. Straight truth. That's your higher self. But the lower, slower density of your, you know, ordinary self, your pedestrian, your postmodern mind, it is not going to be allowed. Simply because of the reasons that I have cited. You know, it would be a free-for-all here. So the things that you do desire, you know, you have to just give it time to dial itself down and be reconverted to a lower, slower density that's perceivable by your five physical senses. And this requires time. So if you're looking for something to be a vibrational equivalent to that which already thrives inside your high vibrational, you know, sacred space, aka your imagination, it's going to take time. You have to become the embodiment of these things.